It is scanning day. So I've got here my all-in-one printer that I'm going to use to scan in the files that aren't digitized, basically. I'll be able to do the thing that I really like to do with it, which is have AI work on it. So I want to use artificial intelligence to read and analyze this estate file and give me some insights. And I've read it, but I don't think I've understood it completely, which is the way it is a lot of times with documents, right? You read them and you think you understand them, but then you ask yourself, did I really understand it? So I'm hoping that through using a variety of AI tools, and I'll show you which ones I'm using and what the results were, that I'll get some insight into that probate file. I'm going to start with the scanning, and I will let you know how it goes. Let's start with going ahead and getting the scanner set up. I'm going to go into my Mac and open up the preferences for the scanner, and then I'll pick color so I get the highest resolution and 600 dpi, again for high resolution. And then for the file name, I always name these the last name of my ancestor and then their first name and then what the file is, so I can find it easily in sorting. I'll pick OCR to see if it will translate the text on the page into text that I can search. And then I think I'm all set and ready to go. These are documents that I picked up, these in particular, from a courthouse archive. And it is a full estate file, which means it's the will and then all the distribution papers that relate to my ancestor John Wilmer. And I have a ton of them. This is, it's not that whole pile. But this is the pile. So it's a good like 50 pages of things to do. I'm going to control the scanning from my computer. Even though I'm using the document feeder on the printer, I'm going to be checking to make sure like each paper went in correctly and that it's being scanned. And it requires just a lot of double checking with the scanner on the printer to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm spending a lot of time taking staples out of things, going through papers and feeding them in. The only good news in this process so far is it looks like the longer sheets of paper, the 8.5 by 14, are also able to be scanned, as well as the 8.5 by 11s. So that's a real positive. So this process of scanning is absolutely depressing. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I am finding this almost unbearable. And, you know, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that I could look forward to AI reading these to me and giving me an interpretation, I don't think I'd do it. And it's probably why I haven't done it for years. I mean, at least I think I got that probate packet, the estate file, 2018. So it's been 7 years that I've had it sitting in a binder, waiting to be scanned and fully interpreted. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that, but it is painful. It is truly painful getting through this. So let's see what my final result is like here. I am looking for your best tips on scanning. What devices or equipment do you use in order to get your scanning done? Go ahead and drop it in the comments so we can all learn from each other. Okay, let me pause there and just share a couple things. So I'm learning tools that are handy for this project are the staple remover. And then the other thing I'm experiencing here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you on my computer. These are the problems that I'm having. So let me show you. A huge mistake I made was in choosing color instead of black and white when I set up the scanner. So here on the image on the right is the color image. And if you look closely, you can see that the image is not as clear as it could be. Now, granted, I'm working from a photocopy of the original, and photocopies aren't great, but there is a lot of fading here. And there's a lot of just, I don't know, just a lot of text that isn't very clear in general. But when I went back and scanned in the file just on the black and white setting, but at the same DPI, it came out a lot clearer, I think, and the file size wasn't as large. So I definitely recommend using the black and white setting, and hopefully your scanner is more optimized than mine. This is just an kind of a base model all-in-one scanner, and there's probably a better way to do this, but well, here we go back to scanning. So as that's running, let me just say, as much as I'm complaining about doing this, I am grateful that I can access these records, that it's fairly reasonable, in price in order to get them and effort. And I'm excited by what I'll learn. What I remember growing up is that there was some sort of conflict in the Wilmer family around this farm, this dairy, and it split the family. So even though John Wilmer had 6 children, I believe it was 6, um, they ended up not talking to each other by the time this was all settled out. It looks like from the documents that was 1931. Bad time, as you can probably guess, to be having a conflict with the Great Depression going on and a lot of economic changes happening in the country. And yeah, I just know something happened, and in this document is probably the answer. And I'm hoping again that AI can help me read it and figure it out. So let me just double check that it got all the pages and everything looks good before I call this scanning done. So this estate file, because of the different times in court, came as different sets of documents. So I scanned in each set of documents, but I want to combine them into one PDF because I think for anyone who's looking at it, they just want to see it as a cohesive whole. And I also want to be able to upload it as one complete file when I ask AI to read it and give me an interpretation. So I think what I am doing wrong is I scanned it in as a TIFF file. I had heard from archivists that TIFF files are ideal, that JPEGs, every time you open up a JPEG file, it loses some of its pixels each time you open it. You just don't know which ones, and you kind of want to keep all your pixels, but TIFF files don't do that. And I had scanned it as a PDF and it kind of acted wonky. But then my later scans were PDFs and they turned out fine. So I think I just need to call this a PDF and convert it. So I'm going to do that first and see if that helps. Okay, I have my state file now as a PDF, and what I'm going to do is add in all the pieces of the file that I scanned in separately. So they're all combined into one file. So I'm just going to drag the other documents to the bottom here of the thumbnails. And on my Mac, it then combines the PDFs all into that file. It doesn't get rid of the old files, but it just combines them, makes a copy into that first file, or this file that I have open, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then feed it into AI and see what I get. So let's do this step. Okay, so I have everything that I scanned together in one file. I am now going to try this file with two different AI systems. So I'm going to try it first with ChatGPT and just the regular kind of like mode. I might try one of the other models. We'll see. And then I want to give a try to Google's Notebook LM to see if it could read it and interpret what's going on here and provide some further insight. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I thought I would just start with asking ChatGPT which ChatGPT model I should be using. It says that the 4.0 model, which it calls it Turbo, that must be what the O stands for, is the one to use. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. It claims that it's good at text interpretation, historical context, it's versatile, it can do a summary, and I can ask it follow-up questions. So I've just uploaded the PDF here. I just said what I knew about it here, just in normal conversation, and let's see what it does. ChatGPT has taken this and started to read it and interpret it. It's given me some basics here. He died prior to the documents being filed. That makes sense. You can't open an estate until somebody dies. All right, estate dispute details. After the executor filed the first and final account, objections were filed by the heirs. This means someone wasn't satisfied with how the estate was settled. Okay. So then that's when they took it to the orphans court, because in Pennsylvania we have the Register of Wills, which has all the documents related to estates, and the orphans court doesn't just deal with children without parents. It actually deals with any case that wouldn't fall under a civil dispute or a criminal situation. So it's things that are kind of in a gray area. Interpretation of what happened. Classic case when heir felt shortchanged and overlooked. It also reflects that wills don't always settle everything. Full list of the people named in the document with their roles, a timeline, a plain English rewrite. Ooh, I would love all of those. Yes, please, to all of them. So let me ask for each one and see what I get. Okay, so I told ChatGPT, I like all three of those. Take your time, there's no rush. I want to make sure it's accurate. So I know that sounds a little bit weird. It sounds like I'm talking to a person, but I've heard that these AI systems are weird in that they do try to act like people, and if you tell them to take their time, they tend to do that and be a little more accurate. So I thought I'd try it out. I mean, what harm is there in terms of doing this? So it started to go through and naming the people with their roles. And what I noticed in what it was doing is the names are often wrong. This is not very reassuring because now I don't know if it's got its other facts wrong. But Mildred was not a child of John Wilmer. She was a daughter in law, in like 2 generations down. And she wasn't even in the family yet. She didn't marry into the family until like 1934. So this is not right, because this is happening in 1929 and 1931. But ChatGPT knows I've talked about Mildred Wilmer, so I think that's why she ended up in here. This is really terrible. Emma, again, is not the widow, it's Martha. This name is correct. This is where things happened. That is correct. So I did ask it for this expanded list. It's just on Mildred. There's no Gertrude in there. There's no Clarence, and there's no Helen. I can read the names. There's a Frank, a William Wilmer. I know that's a tongue twister, and a Margaret. So it's not even close. So because I told it to take its time, it says, next timeline of estate proceedings, part 2, almost ready. I'm like, what is it doing? So let me ask it for it and see if I can get it to do this a little quicker. I just said, I'd like part 2 now, please. Because if I didn't ask it, it wouldn't just all of a sudden just give it to me without being prompted. So it says, here's part 2, and it goes through a timeline. Now, there's more errors with this timeline. John Wilmer died on August 29th, 1929, so he couldn't have presented the will and had it probated in July. So I'm not sure where this date is coming from. And I need to check all these dates then because I don't trust the first one. But it looks like the estate was opened on January 24th. There was some adjudication in the orphans court on February 10th. And then the hearings and a final decree on March 3rd. That timeline right there seems doable. And if this is the final account in January, that seems doable too, because there was a will. So I'll double check it against the documents. So will, executor prepares account, final saying where all the money went, and then the timeline. So this is what it asked me next, which I thought was really, really helpful. It said, do I want a narrative summarizing what was decided and why? So that's just straight writing in paragraphs. Or did I want a side-by-side breakdown showing the original language and the simplified interpretation? And I asked for the breakdown because all the mistakes it just made, I want to check it against the documents that I have here to see that I understand it. So here's the side-by-side breakdown that it gave me by section. So it gave me the breakdown of the money and explained what it was for, the payments and its understanding of what the payments were for. Then it gave me in another section what was left to be distributed. It stayed consistently wrong with the names of the people. They're all here and the amounts. So I want to double check those. And then the court decree at the end for when the orphans court settled this dispute between all the children and what happened. So, and then it gave a little summary. He died with a will. His son was the executor. Heirs objected to how the money was distributed. The court reviewed everything, and then each child received roughly an equal share afterwards. So I need to double check that because I looked at the documents and I saw $12,000 being distributed among the children, and that these amounts of 571 certainly don't add up to 12,000. So I need to check my math. I need to check its math. But this was, despite the big F or L loser that it got here. Maybe it was a D effort. I don't know. But it still gave me a way to approach this document and think through it. So even when AI, completely blows it like it did here, this is still a little bit helpful to me. I could feed it into Notebook LM, and it gave me that cute little icon. I didn't pick that. I think that's cute, the little emoji. And I titled it John Wilmer's Estate File Explained. And it immediately gave me this really nice summary of when John Wilmer died, when the will was dated, there was a codicil to the will, or codicil. I'm not sure how to say that. And then what happened. And then it gave me a bunch of questions I could ask it about it. So I picked this one. What legal administrative process was involved? And it went through and detailed everything that happened legally. And it gives me these little citations. Now it's citations to the actual document, right? I have to go to the document, but at least I feel like it was referencing something and not making it up. So it does all this, which is like incredibly detailed. And the amounts here are the amounts I remember reading in the document. Then it gives me more options for questions here. How was the real property divided? That's what I want to know. Like, who were the heirs that were involved? And let's hope it gets the names right. Unlike ChatGPT. So let's see. 53-acre farm to his two sons, William and Frank, in equal shares. Okay. So we've got names in here. Oh, and it's showing pages of the actual document. This is great because I can go back and reference it. Now, the fun part about using Notebook LM is I can have it generate a conversation between two hosts talking about this document. And I think that'll be fun. I'm going to do that. Here is the audio overview. I'll play a couple minutes for you so you can see what it's like.
Welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today, we're stepping back, quite a ways back actually, to 1929.
That's right, Plymouth Township, Pennsylvania.
We're digging into the estate files of a man named Wilmer John. He passed away that year.
And we've got quite a bit to work with his will, inventories, distribution records, the whole process.
It's like a window, isn't it? Not just legal stuff, but a real glimpse into, well, an everyday life from almost a century ago.
Exactly. These aren't just dusty papers. They tell a story. You see the person's priorities, maybe hints of family dynamics. It's like being a historical detective, piecing things together.
Yeah, love that. So our mission today is basically to pull out the interesting bits from Wilmer John's files. Understand his wishes, what he owned, how it all got sorted.
Let's jump in. The foundation really is the will.
Okay, the will. When was it written?
Dated April 1st, 1921. And interestingly, there's a codicil that's like an add-on or an amendment.
Right, an update.
Dated the very same day. Both were officially probated, meaning accepted by the court, on August 16th, 1929.
And who is supposed to handle things? The executor.
Initially, yes. The will named Frank Wilmer as executor.
Frank Wilmer. That name sounds familiar already.
It should. He's one of Wilmer John's sons. But things took a slight turn. On that same day, August 16th, 1929, Frank actually filed a renunciation.
A renunciation. So he basically said, no thanks to being executor.
Pretty much.
Yep.
He declined the role named in the will.
So then what? If the chosen person steps back?
Well, that's when the court steps in.
Yeah.
And this is where we see Frank Wilmer appointed again, but this time as Administrator CTA.
CTA, what's that stand for? Sounds official.
It is. It's Latin cum testamento annexo. Basically means with the will attached.
Ah.
So even though he wasn't the executor named in the will, the court appointed him to administer the estate according to the will.
So he's still the one in charge, just wearing a slightly different legal hat, appointed by the court instead of just the will itself.
Exactly. Maybe he felt the responsibility was different under the court's direct appointment, or perhaps there were other reasons. But bottom line, he's managing the process.
Okay, got it. So Frank's handling it.
So that's pretty interesting, right? Like the back and forth to try to understand this document. I really like it. It is just over 13 minutes long. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to the whole thing. I'm not going to subject you to it. You'll notice just from listening to it that they got the name wrong. Again, there's something wrong with the name. And so I wish there was a way to edit that in it because I love the audio file and the conversation. And maybe if I regenerate it, it would come up a little bit differently. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So that is my whole scanning adventure with this one document. You can see I have more to go. And then I'm going to give AI some more stuff to work on and see what else it can come up with. I will upload everything that I learned in doing this process and my kind of step by step up to chroniclemakers.com, my website, so you can check it out and see if you want to follow along and do the same thing. And I hope this helps you scan anything that you have sitting around and learn something that's hidden inside.